Let's now shift our attention to what is happening in the United States of America, where the American Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is finding himself deeper into controversy. The latest reports have put Hegseth back in hot waters of the signal gate, and according to the US media reports, Hegseth got an unsecured, believe it or not, this is the man who's the Defense Secretary of the United States, and he gets an unsecured internet connection installed in his Pentagon office. Additionally, the Defense Secretary used the chat application Signal on a personal device. The reports have come at a time when the Pentagon is currently investigating other information leaks from within the Department of Defense and has put several officials on leave or it has suspended them. Now, Pete Hegseth and other top leaders of the Trump administration have come under the spotlight when a journalist revealed that he was inadvertently added to a Signal chat group that shared sensitive details of America's attack plans on Yemen. Another reporter stated that Hegseth had 3 computers in his office, including a personal one. This despite a ban on carrying electronic devices due to the risk of spyware and hacking. Now, the existence of unsecured internet connection is the latest revelation about Pete Hegseth's use of unclassified applications. It's also raised the possibility that sensitive defense information could have been put at risk of potential hacking or surveillance. However, Trump has decided to stand by Pete Hegseth and other top officials, dismissing the scandal as nothing but a witch hunt, and has argued that his Pentagon chief, according to him, is doing a great job. Now, the American president has said that he'll also do a sit-down interview with the Atlantic's editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, who was mistakenly added to the government's official group chat. So this is a huge controversy within the United States of America. Pete Hegseth is, of course, the Defense Secretary of the United States of America. He was someone who's handpicked by Donald Trump, but he seems to be in all kinds of problems. It's not just Signalgate, but it's Signalgate twice over. And also the fact that he's broken protocol, taking his wife and other members of his family for meetings which are essentially about classified information. And the fact that there was an editor-in-chief of The Atlantic who was added to a chat group, a Signal chat group, in which the Defense Secretary and the who's who of the Trump cabinet were present, and they discussed the war plans on striking targets in Yemen, has brought the spotlight on how effective are members of the Trump's cabinet. And Pete Hegseth at this moment is in the eye of the storm. The controversy where Hegseth reportedly got an unsecured internet connection installed in his office in the Pentagon. And it beggars belief as to what the logic of something like this could be, considering the kind of sensitive data that Pete Hegseth, as the Defense Secretary, would be dealing with. The fact that he got an unsecured internet connection perhaps speaks at Hegseth's approach towards his job. These are questions that are being raised. Is Hegseth taking his job seriously enough? Now, the American president says that he backs Pete Hegseth. He still says that he is doing a great job. It is 3 months into Donald Trump's presidency, and it's one controversy after another that Pete Hegseth seems to be getting into. And it now remains to be seen as to how long will Donald Trump continue to hold on to Pete Hegseth, or will he decide to drop him like a hot potato? Now, Donald Trump and his administration are inching closer to the 100-day milestone in office, and with time, more and more American citizens are concerned about the country's economic future as well as constitutional freedom. The single biggest issue making headlines has been Trump's tariff war on 185 countries and also the long-term impact of the standoff on commoners. A recent poll by the Associated Press NORC Center reveals that nearly about 60% of the American adults are extremely or very concerned about the rising grocery prices. Now, this concern also extends beyond food, with 50% of the Americans also being worried about the cost of big-ticket items like cars, phones and appliances. Now, companies across various sectors are grappling with the impact of tariffs on their bottom lines, particularly in industries like food and beverage, pharmaceuticals and household goods. Now, several major companies are adjusting their earning expectations due to the rising costs linked to tariffs. Procter & Gamble, the maker of household staples, has also lowered its annual financial outlook after a slowdown in sales. Now, PepsiCo has also downgraded its earnings forecast, citing a 25% tariff on imported aluminium that is driving up costs for beverage makers. Pharmaceutical giant Merck expects tariffs to cost about $200 million this year, prompting a cut to its earnings guidance. The economic uncertainty created by tariffs is not limited to consumer goods and pharmaceuticals alone. American Airlines have also withdrawn their earnings forecast for the year, reflecting concerns that tariffs could in fact influence consumer spending on travel. Similarly, Southwest Airlines is scaling back its flight schedule due to the reduced demand. Meanwhile, Dow Chemicals is delaying a $1 billion facility expansion in Canada as tariff-driven uncertainty forces companies to rethink on their investments. The market and investor sentiment has remained pretty cautious after the US president first announced reciprocal tariffs on the 2nd of April, before declaring a sudden 90-day pause, but then singled out its trade escalation with China. Now, joining us on the broadcast, we have Mr. John Rosamondo, who is the president of the Viking Research Associates, geostrategist and also an expert on national security. He's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Rosamondo, this is a question that I'm pretty sure a lot of Americans will start asking now. The fact that Pete Hegseth reportedly had an unsecured internet connection installed in his Pentagon office. Is there any logic to it, or are we looking at someone who's a defense secretary was perhaps not serious about his job?
Well, I just think that there's a lot of questions to be asked there. I mean, I don't understand why he would do such a thing, considering that, the Chinese, Russians, so forth, if they could easily hack into such an unsecured thing, although he would probably say he wasn't conducting any unclassified business or anything of that sort on the server. So I really think that there's a lot of things to be asked here. However, I think President Trump still has his full confidence in Secretary Hegseth.
Trump has, of course, said that he has full confidence, but how long do you think Donald Trump will be able to hold on and defend Pete Hegseth? Because this is not the first controversy. There have been twice reports that he was using a Signal group chat for discussing what was effectively classified information. How long can Donald Trump hold on to Pete Hegseth before he decides that he's too much of a hot potato?
Well, let's put it this way. President Trump put Pete Hegseth in for an agenda to end the politicization of the U.S. military and to restore the fighting spirit. So while President Trump was burned in his first term, he wants to stick with people who he knows are loyalists. So I don't see Pete Hegseth going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, we'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rosamondo, for joining us with our perspective there.
Thank you.
So as the Trump administration's 100-day mark draws closer, the Americans are weighing in on the U.S. president's performance so far and what the country's future would look like under him. Listen in to what the Americans think.
Are we scared for our future? I mean, absolutely. I'm scared for my entire generation. It's for me currently, I'm in college. I go to El Camino College, and I am scared that if I do get out of college and I do graduate, what type of jobs will be there for me? I'm trying to find a job currently, and I've applied to like 100+ application.
Excited for the future. I'm excited to see how it's all going to pan out. I definitely think that the more that we're going to be able to start doing the fracking and cutting down on a lot of the waste that we have in our government and everything will get us to a better spot.
I'm a trans person, and a lot of my protections and a lot of my rights are being taken away. I went to get my Social Security changed, and I could change my name, but they wouldn't allow us to change the gender anymore.
I appreciate that he's doing something, I don't know if it's good things yet, but I like that there's someone that's trying to, or at least pretending to make a difference. Hopefully it ends up being good things for everybody, but time will tell.
A lot of things are making me nervous. Anti-immigration policy from him, also the language and divisive rhetoric that he's using, the exclusionary rhetoric, trying to divide, citizens along racial and gendered bylines. And also it makes me, think about kind of like just the hateful language that is encoded in the way that he speaks and what he's trying to do.
I believe that he's restoring law and order within our country. He's reviving the economy, and he's bringing back business to America through manufacturing. So again, I'm putting a strong emphasis on business, but I believe Americans' main concern is the stability of our economy. And I believe that all of his initiatives are pointing towards a healthy America in the future.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.